Hi, welcome back to ODE and to another versus video. And this is another versus video featuring the new Parker 51 Deluxe Black GT from 2021. And today we are seeing this new Parker 51 against the Parker 100. And so these will be my thoughts. First, comparison between these two pens. Both have gold colored caps. One is black, the Parker 51. The Parker 100 has this kind of grayish, brownish color, which is called bronze. About the options about these pens, both pens were made with different colors. These are made in black, in plum, midnight blue, etc. It's made in some other variations, in gold and steel nib. This one has a gold nib, and the cap could be gold or steel colored. The Parker 100 was also available in some other colors like blue, white, silver with black cap or gold cap. So there were some variations about these two, but these are the ones that I have in my hands. This one belongs to my collection for a long time. I bought it as a kind of, I think this was my first expensive pen that I bought here in Lisbon in a store, and this pen is with me as a loan from Appelboom. I will leave links below if you want to check the original reviews or even some links for buying some of these pens. The comparison about these pens, I have both these pens here because these two pens were made inspired in the Parker 51 It's hard to call it the original model because it had some changes throughout the time, but there was a Parker 51 that was made starting in the 1940s, and this one is a re-release now in 2021. There was another one in 2002 that was a special edition. This one is not a Parker 51, but it is inspired by one, so it has some common features. And the common features are these. The Parker 51 is characterized mostly for having this cigar-shaped barrel, a metal cap, arrow clip design, and then it has a hooded nib on the end. Usually it was a push fit cap. In this time it is a screw-on cap. This pen also has some of those characteristics. It also has a metal cap. The barrel is also metal, and instead of having the cigar shape, it has a jewel there on the bottom. But I will talk about that in a moment. Then it has a push fit cap and also a section with a hooded nib. So it has some similarities in terms of the design. This one is inspired also in a vintage Parker 51. Maybe not exactly in the same, but I will talk about that in a moment. Now, the sizes of these pens is something that I think it may be important to share with you. I don't usually do that on the reviews because you can see them on my hands, but when we are comparing, it's better to be more objective. And what I found is that this pen has 139 millimeters closed, and this one has 144. So it is a little bit longer. When uncapped, the Parker 51 has 118 millimeters long, and the 100 is 127, so it is bigger also when uncapped. About the barrel size or the diameter, here on the barrel, this one has 11 millimeters and on section 10, and this one has 12 millimeters, both here on the barrel and both here on the section. Of course, if you go further to the tip, it is less, but in the start of the section it is the same. So that's it. About the weight is quite different, and when we are thinking about the weight, I'm considering the weight with the pen kept and filled with ink. We are talking about 37 grams and 23 grams. So this is the Parker 100 is 14 grams heavier than the Parker 51. The filling system on both pens is converter or cartridge, the proprietary Parker system. So they are the same kind, they will take the same amount of ink, which is around 0.7 milliliters of ink in the converter, or the double 1.4 milliliters with a cartridge. So not bad, not that good with the converter, but not bad with the cartridge. About the materials the pens are made with. This pen has metal cap, resin barrel and resin section. The Parker 100 has metal cap, metal barrel, which is lacquered then, but it's metal, and metal section also. So this pen is all metal. The nib material of both pens is in both 18 karat gold nib. This one had no steel nibs available, this one has at a lower price. So you can find Parker 100 at a lower price with a steel nib. This one has the gold nib, so the same 18 karat gold nib, although as far as I understand the nib is different on each pen. This one is not a tubular nib like the older Parker 51, but it is a small nib that was really made for this pen. The nib on this one seems to be the same nib as you can find on the Parker Jotter. This nib is a fine, and it is available as fine and medium, at least so far, although I think this is not that much. Maybe they will increase the range in the future, I'm not sure. This one is also a fine, but when it was made, it was available in extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and also in some obliques and some special nibs. So Parker made a whole range for them. You could not get everyone in stores because they would not have stock of each kind of nib, but you could make a special order and they would deliver this pen with the nib that you wanted. So that could be a nice thing. The price of these pens, it's not that different. This pen costs 260 euros in the version with the gold nib. The version with the steel nib costs 90 euros, more or less. This one costs 300 euros when it was released. Now you can find some of the models for around 250 euros. So I think for the same price you can get both the pens, and I think that makes this versus video a little bit more interesting. Now let's go for how they feel on the hand. As I told you, this one looks a little slimmer. It has this screw fit cap, which I keep all the time trying to force it kept like this, but it does not. It can be used unposted. It is long enough, really, and you can use it posted also, and it's great because it posts well. So in this kind of thing, it's quite similar to the original Parker 51. Let's keep it uncapped. When you're talking about, let me just show for comparison purposes, I have here older Parker 51 and you can see almost the same. And you can have here the Parker 100 that can also be posted, and it posts very well and also deeply. Of course, you can use it unposted and you can use it posted, and it is amazing. Although I try to avoid that, not because it takes the pen out of balance, but because I don't want it to scratch the barrel, and also I think it's very beautiful. It's more pleasing to the eye to see it like this, but I don't really see the sense of doing that. I prefer to use this pen holding the cap on my left hand and writing with the right hand. So this is it. Now, going for some, I already made a comparison with the 51 and the older 50 and the older 51, so you can check some of these things that I'm going to talk about in that video, but I want to talk where these pens come from. And this is how I think sometimes Parker misses an opportunity, but we also have to blame some of the users, in my opinion, because we, and I'm talking about we in general, not all of us. For example, I did not criticize this pen, I even bought one, but we tend to say, no, that's not the same, so it's not as good. Okay, let's see. This pen is good and it provides a good writing experience. Is that outstanding design? I don't think so. Is this an outstanding design? Yes, it is, in my opinion. Am I a design expert? No, not at all, but I think so, and I'm going to show you why. So, let's pick the Parker 51, the aerometric version. What you can see here, you have a jewel that was made of plastic, this pearlized plastic, and here it is a metal one. So it is a different option now. I'm not saying it's bad or good, it is a different option. It also has the arrow-shaped clip, but this one just looks a little bit cheaper than that one and not that complex. Okay, but it's maybe a different design. It also has some lines engraved on the cap. So there are similarities, the same shape of the barrel, same kind of material. You can uncap this one fairly easily, and this one you don't, because you need to unscrew. It only takes one turn, I think, to unscrew. Just a little over one turn, but it unscrews well. So you then have these threads that don't come at all from the original or the older Parker 51. It's not a feature that was present, and I don't know if that makes sense when you are thinking about the heritage of that pen. You had a ring that was a clutch ring. It had this indent there for the cap to catch it. This one has a broad ring there that I don't know what it is used for. Maybe just to stop the barrel to overthread over the section and crack. But I think this could be much thinner and look nicer. Also, this one obviously has the modern cartridge or converter system that I think modern Parker 51s, if they never stopped being made, they would have it, because it was the way Parker evolved. In this case, we have the Parker 51, and you can see some of the same details, but I would say that this one is more inspired on the Vacuumatic version and the Vacuumatic double jewel version. I have to say I don't have a Vacuumatic double jewel version, so it is a little bit harder for me to show, but the double jewel version is like this, the same thing, but it would have in this blind cap that allows you to go to the the vacuumatic filling system, you would have there a little metal ring and then a jewel similar to the one on the cap. So imagine the end of the barrel being similar to this. Okay, so double jewel. When you look at this pen, you see all the features. First, you see that there is a kind of a different ring on the bottom of the cap. Here they made it because they made a shiny ring, and then there is the other one that says Parker, like these ones have the engravings in this part of the pen. These have these very small lines, and I think this one also has them. They are more visible in this pen than on this one, and in this case I think they simulated that kind of, when you look from afar, sometimes you cannot see the lines, it just looks like a matte surface, and they made a matte surface here. The clip, however, was more shiny, and you have a more shiny clip. You would have a jewel on the top, and you have a jewel on the top, and a jewel on the bottom that you would have here also. The jewel is made of metal, but in a different color. It is rhodium plated, if I'm not mistaken. And they made an improvement. These pens, sometimes these got a little bit scuffed because if they fell or they were, they could get scratched again stuff, and they would wear down. In this case, the jewel is almost completely recessed, so you will not scratch it. This is very well done. The same here on the barrel, on the bottom of the barrel. The pen is made of metal, so it is a different thing, but the concept is kind of the same. And here, this is one of the most amazing features. These older cap, not this one, sorry. These older caps had there that diamond. It was a blue diamond. Sometimes it had enamel, a blue enamel painted. Some did not, or some just fell. And this one got that feature of that blue diamond, not in blue, the same color of the jewels, and that way. Then the cap comes out of like the same way. It has a clutch that catches these little things there, these little prongs, and it works. So it's really well made. It is a larger band, yes it is, but in this case I think it makes sense, and even the pen being bigger, the band on the new Parker 51 is even larger, so I don't think that makes that much sense. And then a hooded nib, and yes, you have a fully hooded nib. It has a golden lip, the original did not have. The original, I don't like to call it original, the old one didn't have. But then the nib is just flush to this gold ring and to the tip of the section, and you have here the feed that is it has those striations, but it takes all the area. But when you look at the new Parker 51, you can see it is kind of a regular feed that is fitting there. I think this pen has lots of thought in the making and the designing of it, and I think this pen is kind of a perfect Parker pen. However, this pen was not well received when it was made, because us collectors always say, no, that pen is not really a Parker 51, it's like a bad imitation. And I think this was a clever move, because it is not an imitation of a Parker 51, but it is like, this is a relative of the Parker 51. It has the same kind of features, the same kind of design, but you can see this is a modern pen. This is not here to try to be a Parker 51. It's here to be a Parker 100 that is clearly inspired in Parker 51 and has almost all the little details the older one has, and this one, I think it misses some. So if you ask me which of these pens is better, I don't usually like to do that on the versus video, but in this case I don't have any doubts. They were much more clever. This pen was more expensive, but it was really a unique pen. And maybe it was because of the time it was released, around 2004, 5, around that. Maybe people were not available to pay that much, but I think in today's market people would pay, and this is a very good pen. But it had lots of criticism. It was not a successful release, and then it was discontinued. So we collectors always say that that pen is not that good, and then after some times they are quite sought after. So maybe someday the same will happen with the Parker 51, the 2021 version. However, don't forget that this pen is also available with a steel nib that is much less expensive than this one. And now let's go just for some writing sample to show you how they compare. And so here I have the Rhodia pad notebook that I use for these versus videos, and the first pen is this Parker 51 Deluxe Black GT with a fine gold nib, and the ink it has inside is vintage Parker Quink Black. And about this nib, what can I say? It is a nib that performs quite well. It has no flexibility. It is a rigid one. It works well. It doesn't fail. It is very smooth and very well done. And it even allows you to write in the reverse side a little bit finer, but that's it. This is a fine nib, a real fine nib that works well. As I was showing in a moment ago, the Parker 100 has these made, I would say, well. This one is quite strange because there is a large gap between the nib and the tip of the section. But in the Parker 100, this was fixed, or it was well made before this one went out. Now we have the Parker 100, yes, and it encaps like this, and this is the Parker 100. I think the color is smoke bronze. It has a fine nib, maybe a little broader than the other one. You can't have any line variation also, and it is a less wet pen than that one, so it does not deliver so much ink to the paper, but it allows for fast writing. It just does not put that much ink on the paper. Is that a bad thing? No, for me it is not. It writes well, maybe even a little larger, but a little more drier, but you don't feel it to be dry on paper. And the ink I have inside is also the vintage Parker Quink Black. And as I told you, this pen feels great in the hand, much more than this one. So they are both pens that write really well. I don't have any complaints about the writing experience with the new Parker 51. I can't do this. I just don't love the design. I think it could have been much better. They will roll away. I can't do this. So I think this Parker 51 could be much better created, much better designed, and this one is for sure my favorite. And even if you don't like the design, you can never blame Parker because they made a Parker 51 that's not a Parker 51. No, they did not call it a Parker 51. It is called Parker 100. This one, yes, it is a Parker 51, so these may have some criticism. However, I have to say that again, this pen writes really well. It's a great writer, but has all those features that I talked to you about. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will come back for more. Thank you for watching and we will meet soon. Bye.